She told me she was flying to Houston for a business trip. But right now, I'm sitting in my van, watching her kiss another man in front of a rundown motel in Austin. And the best part? I still have the keys to her Tesla. Most men would lose it, scream, confront her, maybe even throw a punch. But not me. I stayed quiet. I watched, and in that moment, I realized if she could lie this well, I could teach her a lesson she'd never forget without ever raising my voice. Want to know how I turned betrayal into a perfect storm of revenge? Stay with me, because this story doesn't end with heartbreak. It ends with justice. I parked the van across the street from the Paradise Inn, a grim little two-story motel that hadn't been updated since the Reagan era. The kind of place where secrets go to rot. From my seat behind the windshield, I had a perfect view of Melissa's silver Tesla and the man she was now pressed against. His hands were on her waist like he owned her. Her laugh? It wasn't the polite, office party chuckle I knew. It was wild, free, like she hadn't been someone's wife for the last 6 years. I felt something shift inside me, something cold and quiet. Not rage. Not yet. Just silence, like the world had turned down the volume. I glanced at Luis, my intern, barely 22, and trying not to look as disturbed as I felt. He fidgeted with his phone. You getting this? I asked, keeping my eyes on Melissa. He nodded. Yeah, man. 4K. Got the mic pointed too. Good. Stay low. Don't let her see you. She didn't. She was too busy playing house with her little fantasy. They strolled up the outside staircase, holding hands like high schoolers sneaking away after curfew. Then they vanished behind room 208, the door slamming shut with a flick of her wrist. And that's when it hit me. I still had the spare key to her car. Not just a key. Leverage. Melissa had no idea her precious Tesla was about to take a detour. And neither did Mr. Finance Consultant. I turned to Luis. Stay here. Watch the lot. Call me if they come out. Luis raised an eyebrow. You're going to take her car? No, I said flatly. I'm going to borrow it. Just long enough to remind her where home is. He whistled low. Damn, you're cold, Mr. Caldwell. I got out without answering. Because honestly, cold didn't even begin to describe what I was feeling. The Tesla unlocked with a soft chirp, almost smug. Melissa had named it Luna in the app. Cute. She always said she treated the car like a second child. Too bad she never won a first. I slipped into the driver's seat, adjusted the mirrors, and fired up the engine. No alarm. No alert. Just a purr betrayal on 4 wheels. Before shifting into reverse, I reached for the glove box. Insurance, registration, a half-empty pack of gum, and a crumpled receipt from a boutique hotel in San Antonio from 3 weeks ago. So this wasn't her first time. I pocketed the paper and backed out slow. Didn't want to draw attention. Luis texted as I turned the corner. They're still inside. Curtains closed. You're good. I hit the gas. 10 minutes later, I was pulling up the dirt driveway to Chloe's ranch. 40 minutes outside Austin. Big red barn. Pecan trees. 2 rescue dogs that barked like they remembered me. She came out in boots and a tank top, dry her hands with a towel. Ryan, you all right? No, I said, tossing her the keys. Can you bury a car? Chloe didn't blink, just hooked her thumb toward the barn, back left corner, under the tarp. We had the Tesla beneath an old canvas that once covered her dad's tractor. She didn't ask questions. I didn't offer answers. That's the kind of friend she was. Quiet, loyal, and dangerous when she needed to be. Inside, she poured us both a drink. Neat bourbon. No words. I finally exhaled. For a moment, the rage melted into something softer. Not peace, but pause. This isn't just about cheating, I muttered. It's the lie, the planning, the fact that she thinks I'm stupid enough to never find out. Chloe sipped her drink. Then make her realize you're not. I looked at her, then at the phone in my pocket. Luis had uploaded everything to the shared drive. Photos, footage, audio. Melissa didn't just lose her car today. She just handed me the first piece of her undoing. By the time I got back to the office, Luis was already waiting outside with 2 coffees and a face full of questions he didn't dare ask. I handed him a 50. You didn't see anything today. He nodded. Didn't even know you were here. Inside, I walked past the cubicles, past the fake smiles and half-hearted small talk. None of them knew that 5 hours ago I saw my wife unbuttoning her blouse for a man who wasn't me. None of them knew, but they would. I went straight to the IT department. Brian was in his usual cave, hoodie on, earbuds and buried in code. I closed the door behind me. Brian, I said flat, I need a favor. He pulled out an earbud. Sure. What's up? I need a license plate traced. Quietly. He blinked. You mean, like illegally? I didn't answer. Just slid the folded paper across the desk. Brian stared at it for a second too long, then exhaled through his nose. All right, give me 30 minutes. I walked back to my office, locked the door, and opened the folder Chloe helped me print. Divorce paperwork. Signed, sealed, time-stamped. Melissa's name across the top, next to mine. Grounds. Adultery. I had every screenshot, every angle from Luis's camera. Even a time-stamped video of her kissing Trent with my call, ringing in her hand. Brian knocked quietly 25 minutes later. His name's Trent Harper, he said. Lives in Barton Creek. Married. No kids. His wife's name is Emily. Teaches 3rd grade. I stared at the ceiling for a moment. 3rd grade. He slid me a USB. Also, this guy's social media is wide open. His wife posts everything. Birthday dinners, anniversaries, even what kind of coffee he drinks. You've got more than enough. I nodded. Thanks, Brian. Just don't tell me what you do with it. I didn't. Instead, I drafted an anonymous email to emily.harper@hillcrestschool.org. Subject, you deserve the truth. Attached, a single video file titled Room 208, 2:13 p.m. I hovered over the send button. Then I clicked it. And just like that, the war went public. At exactly 5:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. Melissa. I let it ring twice before answering with my best version of concern. Hey, babe. Her voice cracked. Ryan, my car's gone. I think it's been stolen. I let silence hang just long enough to make her squirm. Stolen? Where are you? She hesitated. I stopped for lunch. At that Thai place on Riverside. I parked out front, and when I came back, it was just gone. Did you call the police? Yes. They're on their way. I can't believe this is happening. Wanted to come meet you? No. She barked way too fast. Then softened. No, it's fine. I've got it under control. Just stay at the office, okay? I smiled to myself. The web was tightening. 10 minutes later, I watched through the Ring doorbell as a black and white squad car pulled into our driveway. Melissa was sitting in the back seat, visibly shaken. She got out and tried to act composed, but her blouse was buttoned all the way to the collar. Hair up. Makeup smeared like she'd been crying or sweating. Probably both. I stepped out onto the porch just as she started up the path. Wow, I said. Your car stolen. What are the odds? She flinched. Ryan, not now. Please. Behind her, the officer stepped out of the car, jotting notes on a pad. He gave me a polite nod. Mr. Caldwell. I'm Detective Monroe. Mind if we speak to your wife alone for a moment? Of course, I said, stepping aside with just the right amount of confusion in my eyes. Melissa looked like a deer in headlights, the kind that knew the car was coming but couldn't move. The officer wasted no time. Ma'am, you said you parked at Thai Orchid around 1 p.m.? She nodded. Funny thing, that restaurant is valet, and their guy says he never saw a Tesla pull up today. And get this, he's a car guy. He remembers every luxury model that comes through. Melissa's voice trembled. Maybe I parked on the side street. I don't remember exactly. He raised an eyebrow. Do you have a receipt for lunch? Anyone who can verify you were there. She swallowed. No, I paid cash. Right. And where were you before that? A pause. I had a meeting at a property off South Lamar. Which property? I don't remember the address. He looked up from his notebook. Ma'am, we pulled footage from 3 cameras around the motel on 7th Street. Your Tesla showed up there around 2 p.m. You were seen entering room 208 with a man who is not your husband. Melissa froze. I watched her lips part, but no sound came out. Do you want to amend your report, Mrs. Caldwell? The officer asked. She whispered, Do I need a lawyer? He didn't answer, just closed his notebook and turned to me. She may want to speak with one before this goes further. I nodded slowly. I'll take it from here. The detective tipped his hat and walked back to the cruiser. Melissa stood motionless in the hallway, mascara streaking down both cheeks. I closed the front door behind her. Care to explain? I asked, how your car ended up at the Paradise Motel while you were supposedly eating curry? She didn't speak. I pointed to the living room. Sit. We're not done yet. And in the next few minutes, I would show her what it meant to lose control, not just of a lie, but of everything. Melissa sat stiffly on the edge of the couch, knees together, hands trembling in her lap. I didn't speak. Not yet. I let the silence fill the room, let it stretch and claw at her until she finally looked up at me, eyes red, lips cracked from stress. You've already made up your mind, she whispered. So just say it. Say whatever you came here to say. I stared at her, not with hate, not with pity, with something worse. Clarity. I don't need to say a word, Melissa. I replied, You already did. When you lied to me. When you answered my call from that motel, told me you were in a meeting, while Trent Harper's tongue was in your mouth. Her face drained of color. You don't know what you saw, she muttered. I know what I recorded. I walked over to TV, grabbed the remote, and hit play. The screen lit up. There she was, wearing the same cream blazer, the same silver heels, stepping out of Tesla, adjusting her hair, waiting by the door of room 208. Then Trent appeared, pulled her in, kissed her like it was the end of the world. She flinched at the sound of their laughter echoing through the living room. Melissa reached for the remote. I slapped her hand away. No, you're going to watch this. You're going to see exactly what you look like when you think your husband isn't watching. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Ryan, please. I begged you to be honest with me. I gave you everything. My loyalty, my trust. And this is what you do with it. I didn't mean to. No, you meant every second. Every lie. Every fake smile. You just didn't think you'd get caught. She broke, fully violently. Her shoulders shook. She dropped to her knees, grabbing at the hem of my shirt like a drowning woman clinging to driftwood. I'm sorry. I swear to God, I'm sorry. I stepped back. Sorry doesn't mean a damn thing when it only shows up after you're exposed. She sobbed harder. It didn't mean anything. I was just lost. No, Melissa, you were looking for something you thought I couldn't give you. I walked over to my briefcase, clicked it open, and pulled out a thick folder, stamped across the top, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. Her eyes widened. Ryan. I placed the folder in her lap. This isn't revenge. It's release. For both of us. She opened it, hands shaking, lips moving silently as she read. You already filed, she whispered. This morning. You didn't even let me explain. I didn't need to. The truth spoke louder than you ever could. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Block caller. I picked it up, looked her dead in the eye. Let's see how your little boyfriend is holding up. I answered and put it on speaker. Melissa? What the hell is going on? My wife saw the damn video. She threw me out. Are you insane? You ruined everything. I held the phone up like a prize. Trent. She can't talk right now. She's busy watching her life burn to the ground. Click. I hung up. Melissa collapsed on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. And me? I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stared out the window. It was quiet. For the first time all day, it was quiet. Melissa stayed curled up on the floor long after the call with Trent ended. Like if she didn't move, reality wouldn't be able to touch her. But it already had. And it wasn't done. My phone buzzed again. Chloe, hey, just got word the video spreading. One of the moms from Harper's school recognized him. Good. Let it burn. I sat back down on the armrest of the couch, watching Melissa try to breathe between sobs. It was pathetic. Not the crying. I've cried too. But the shock she wore, as if she'd never imagined her choices might echo beyond a cheap motel room. She didn't understand yet. That betrayal doesn't stay private. Not when you lie to someone who refuses to stay silent. By 8:30 p.m., the dominoes began to fall. Her boss at the real estate firm called. I watched her fumble the phone with shaking hands. Yes, hi. This is Melissa. Hi. Yes, I'm aware of the video. No, I didn't authorize its release. It was taken without my... She stopped talking. Her face drained again. She put the phone down slowly. I've been suspended, she whispered. Pending internal review. I said nothing. 10 minutes later, her mom called. I didn't know what was said, but Melissa broke down crying again, harder this time. Maybe it was a disappointment in her mother's voice. Maybe it was the first time someone told her, you deserve this. At 9:17 p.m., Emily Harper, Trent's wife, replied to the anonymous email I had sent earlier. I saw everything. Thank you. If you ever need anything, I've got your back. Attached was a photo of a bag on the front porch and the words, he's not welcome here anymore. Melissa sat on the staircase, eyes hollow, lips raw from biting them until they bled. I stood in the doorway, watching her. Everything's falling apart, she whispered. No, I said coldly. It already did. You just hadn't noticed yet. She looked up at me, broken. Ryan, what happens now? I didn't answer right away. I wanted the silence to settle in her chest like concrete. Then I said it, slow, clear, final. Now we start living with the consequences. By morning, the story had legs. Someone, maybe Emily, maybe someone from her office, leaked the video to a private Facebook group for local business professionals. Then it made its way to Reddit, then Twitter, then TikTok. People love a good scandal. They worship one with receipts. I watched from my kitchen, coffee in hand, as comment sections exploded. This is why you don't cheat on someone smart enough to document it. Room 208 is trending in Austin. Y'all, I can't breathe. Justice served cold. I'm taking notes, sir. I hadn't said a word, but the world was already speaking for me. Melissa came downstairs like a ghost in leggings and a hoodie. The same woman who once held court at charity galas and rooftop brunches. Now she could barely hold eye contact. I didn't sleep, she murmured. Good, I said. You might want to stay off your phone today. She flinched. Why? What did you do? I didn't do anything. You did. I just made it hard to ignore. I walked past her and opened my laptop. A blank post sat on my personal blog, one I hadn't updated in years. I began to type, to the people who've reached out, to the clients who've trusted me for years, to the men and women who think silence is strength. I told the story, not the dirty version, not the screaming match version, the quiet version, the truth. I wrote about loyalty, about doubt, about waking up one morning and realizing the person beside you is already miles away, emotionally, physically, morally. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. I ended with this. This isn't a call for sympathy. It's a statement of survival. Betrayal doesn't define you, but how you respond to it does. I chose clarity over chaos, evidence over emotion, dignity over revenge, and I'm still standing. I hit publish. By noon, it had been shared over 3,000 times. By 3 p.m., I was getting messages from strangers. Some were heartbroken. Some were angry. Most were just grateful. Melissa didn't speak for the rest of the day. She sat in the guest room with the door closed, shades drawn, the dim glow of her screen flickering like a funeral candle. She wanted the world to forget. But the internet doesn't forget. Not room 208. Not the Tesla. Not the woman who lied her way into disaster. And especially not the man who refused to go down quietly. The doorbell rang at 7:42 p.m. Sharp, clean, like punctuation at the end of a brutal sentence. I was in the living room, scrolling through messages, Strangers sharing their own stories of betrayal, friends quietly offering their support, a few exes resurfacing with suspicious timing. But this wasn't a message. It was a knock on reality. I opened the door, and there she was, Emily Harper, Trent's wife, the woman whose life I had indirectly blown apart 24 hours ago. She looked calm, too calm, wearing a black blazer, jeans, and the kind of expression only people who've been gutted can wear, hollow, but steel underneath. "I thought you might want this," she said, holding up a manila envelope. Inside was a printed screenshot of Melissa's motel footage, with a post-it note that read, "Trent confessed. He's out. I'm filing tomorrow." I stepped aside. "Do you want to come in?" She shook her head. "No, I'm not here for small talk. I'm here because I wanted you to know something." I waited. Emily looked past me, toward the staircase where the guest room light was still on. "She told me once," Emily said, "at a networking event, that you were too loyal," like it was a flaw. I think that's when I started to see through her. My stomach clenched. She continued, voice even, "People like that don't fall into affairs. They climb into them, step by step, lie by lie, and when it crumbles, they don't cry for you. They cry for themselves." She handed me a second envelope. "What's this?" "An affidavit. I'm willing to testify, if you need leverage in court." I took it. We stood in silence. Then she said something I didn't expect. "You handled this with more control than I could have managed. You kept your hands clean. But I know it still hurts. So if no one else says this tonight, I will." She reached out, touched my arm gently. "You didn't deserve any of it. Not a single bit." She left without another word. The door clicked shut behind her. I walked back into the house and sat in the kitchen. The clock ticked louder than it should have. Melissa hadn't come out of her room all day, but I knew she heard the door. Knew she was probably pressed against the wall, listening. I didn't say a word to her. Instead, I poured myself another bourbon, sat down with Emily's affidavit, and for the first time in days, I felt something shift. Not anger, not grief, closure. I made pasta. Nothing fancy. Just something warm. Real. Honest. It felt poetic in a way. How something so simple could say, "This is the last normal thing we'll ever do together." Melissa came downstairs slowly, as if the air in the hallway had gotten thicker. She looked different. Not just tired. Smaller somehow. Deflated. I didn't speak. Just pulled out the chair across from mine. She sat. We ate in silence for the first 5 minutes. Then she cleared her throat. "This is good," she said softly. I nodded. "It's the recipe you like. The one from when we first moved in." She looked down. I remember. I took a sip of wine, watched the candle flicker in the middle of the table. Finally, I said, "We should talk." Melissa set her fork down, her hands folded in front of her like a student waiting to be graded. "I'm not going to scream," I said. "I've done that. I'm not even angry anymore. I just need you to hear me." She looked up, eyes brimming but dry. "I spent years believing in a version of us that only existed in my head." I continued, "And maybe that's on me. Maybe I saw what I wanted instead of what was real." She whispered, "I loved you." I shook my head slowly. "You love what I gave you. The stability, the respect, the security. But me? You didn't even see me anymore." A pause. "I don't know how I let it get that far," she said. "You didn't let it get that far." I corrected. "You let it there, step by step." Melissa wiped her eyes. "I wish I could take it back." "But you can't," I said. "And I wouldn't let you." Silence again. The kind that stretches between two people who used to know each other deeply and now feel like strangers in matching rings. I slid a small envelope across the table. "What's this?" "The final signature. The court date is in 2 weeks. All we need is closure." She stared at it. "So that's it?" "No," I said. "That's everything." I stood up, picked up my plate, walked it to the sink. She didn't follow. She just sat there, staring at the envelope, at the ruins of a marriage built on assumption, polished for Instagram and hollowed by secrets. That was the last dinner we ever shared. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt full. The next morning, she was gone. No dramatic farewell. No tears on the doorstep. Just an empty closet and a folded note on the kitchen counter. I'll sign the papers. I won't fight you. I hope someday you find peace. M. I stared at the handwriting. It looked small, fragile, just like her when she walked out of my life the night before. And then I exhaled, not because I was relieved she left, but because for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't have to pretend anymore. No pretending that we were okay. No fake laughs at dinners. No lying to friends about rough patches. No tiptoeing around a version of her that had been drifting away long before room 208. I walked through the house slowly. Every room was quieter than usual. Her scent still lingered faintly on the couch pillow. A wine glass sat by the sink, hers, always filled halfway. The office still had her vision board taped to the wall, filled with images of dream homes, exotic beaches, and quotes about manifesting happiness. I stood in front of it for a while. Then I pulled it down, one pin at a time. It wasn't angry. It wasn't sad. It was necessary. By noon, the house felt different, not emptier, just clearer. I opened the windows, let the wind move through every corner. Chloe dropped by with 2 coffees, and no questions. We sat on the back porch, said nothing. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You look lighter." I smiled. I feel it. Because the truth is, sometimes when something breaks, it's not a tragedy. It's a release. Melissa was gone. And so was the version of me that stayed small to keep her comfortable. What remained wasn't sadness. It was space. To breathe. To rebuild. To begin. Weeks passed. The divorce was finalized quietly, just like the end of a contract. No courtroom drama. No last-minute confessions. No apologies that mattered. Melissa didn't fight for anything. Not the house, not the car, not even the dog she once begged me to adopt. She walked away like someone leaving a movie halfway through, because she didn't like how it made her feel. And that was fine, because the rest of the story, it was mine now. I moved her things out, repainted the bedroom, and took down every photo that included her. Not out of spite, out of healing. One Sunday afternoon, I sat down to write again. Not a blog post, not a statement, just a letter to myself. A reminder of what I'd learned. You don't lose yourself the moment they betray you. You lose yourself when you stay, knowing they already did. Forgiveness isn't about letting them back in. It's about letting yourself move forward without chains. And closure? Closure isn't something they give you. It's the door you choose to close from the inside. I saved the letter, printed it, framed it. It hangs by my front door now, not as a warning, but as a promise that I will never again shrink myself to keep someone else comfortable, that I will never again ignore the silence between words, that I will never again confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice. And if someone asks me, "Didn't that break you?" I'll say, "No, that rebuilt me."